builds up. And then we are live in a sec.
Okay, what's that? Happy birthday, German style.
First of all, hi, we are live on YouTube for the next 30 minutes for our Blue Ocean Sprint. For the YouTubers and for the recording, I'm just going to share my screen that you see what we are working on and that what we have done. And it's a morale that we're working on where we want to lay out the Blue Ocean Sprint. And I had birthday, and you can see that on that section because we celebrated that beforehand. And I'm very proud of the, you can see here the Justin Bieber, happy birthday to you. That's my role model, obviously. No, I don't, I'm just kidding. And I had someone that puts in happy birthday German style. Let's have a quick look. Yeah.
Isn't there any sound?
Yeah, can I opened the sound, but actually it was not, it's not transferring.
Oh, that's a shame. That's the best part.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I have to reshare my screen again. So yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's, we will post the link down in the comments to this masterpiece of happy birthday. I like that one actually. Happy birthday. Beside that, where we are. So we are working today in those two sections here up front. And a discussion that we had before was that we wanted to match design thinking with the Blue Ocean process. I think that will be an interesting one in itself. It will be the next step. The first step that we have prepared, and it was Elisa and myself, is that we have prepared the design thinking process, and that we wanted to talk a little bit more about the vocabulary that we are using, which might likely over time will become more and more educated in this topic. So the idea is just to go through the different design thinking models. They are not extremely different, but to show that to you and how we try to map it out against the Blue Ocean so far. And that's an open discussion, so sorry if I'm too formal right now. But we have, first of all, like the design thinking as a loop. We have Marcus always says the double diamond, which is true, of course, but we have like the phases of empathize. Then we're going into the empathize, define, ideate, prototype, test, that I have put in the link here. But that would be like the phases here. I have put in a more complicated model here of the design thinking process. You have the inspiration, ideation, implementation. Those three things to have understand, observe, and what was POV?
Point of view.
Point of view. Still of point of view. Ideate, prototype, test, storytelling, pilot, business model. I would not agree with all, but I just had this in mind. I would go to the next one as empathize, define, ideate, prototype, test, and have a cycle. I like the cycle thing here, that you say you empathize and define once, but then once you have started iterating, then you never stop with that. Design thinking 101. As well, you have, how do you say that? You have categories like understand, explore, and materialize, and you have like the different phases: empathize, define, ideate, prototype, test, and implement as well, put in there together. We have a process that is coming from Elisa. I think you have done this, which I like very much, and which I guess you all can capire. It's to understand.
Yes.
Imaginare, that's in the word, creare, and then validare. So I liked it very much, and I like this as well. And I like as well that these phases have underphases.
Yeah, it's the framework that I usually use in my job, and all the tools that I get to know in my training and during my courses, I will put them inside the phases and different parts. And one important part is that the validation, it's at the end, but it's not chronologically, can be inside each phase, and it can be like right after the first phase of identification or analysis. So the part of the validation is not just related to the prototype, it's about the whole process, and it will be something that you do continuously. It can be peer evaluation, it can be testing, it can be interviews, it can be surveys, it can be different things. But that's the kind of matrix that I usually use with my clients. Sorry if it's it's in Italian.
No, I think
Well, you have some icons going along with it, so that's easy for us.
the design thinking process diagram beside there, it's, yeah, empathize, define, ideate, prototype, test. They call it assess in this time, which I think is interesting. We have again traditional problem solving versus design thinking. That was just what is the right answer, what is the right question. I think you know most of those shifts in thinking. Just wanted to put that on there as a little bit of inspiration. And we had the design thinking principle of the double diamond: discover, define, develop, deliver. How do you call that? Like open up and
Converge and diverge.
converge and diverge.
Diverge and converge. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which,
Diverge and
which is interesting because it's like it describes what you do, but actually it ends. So if you say talk about the double diamond for me, and that would be the start of the discussion, would end after the test phase. So it would end in the first. If you take the first one up, it's the idea. It would end at the ideation. So double diamond closes earlier. It leaves out two phases, and that phases for me would be test and implement, especially implement. So what I have tried to do, and I'm going to summon you once again, and then you tell me if that makes sense. Matching blue ocean exercises with design thinking process is, we have over here the red ocean, and we want to go obviously to a blue ocean here. And I have mapped out the overall phases as we have seen it. It's understand, explore, it's materialize. We say there's an empathize phase, there's a define phase, there's an ideate phase, there's a prototype, so that's the double diamond. And then there's the test, and when the test runs fine, it's to be implemented. Maybe you have in the test some iteration cycles, but that's for future talks. So these would like be the 6 phases that we would say if we want to have a whole sprint that we would like to fill. And now we have the 6 exercises that I have concluded from Elisa's canvas and conclusion. Thanks again for that. It starts with the as is strategy canvas. It goes then to the buyer utility map. There's 3 tiers of non-customers. There's the 6-path framework. There's then the grid for eliminate, reduce, raise, create. And there is the to be strategy canvas, which, and now I'm going to start to become more silent and you become hopefully more louder, is my end question is the end goal an adapted strategy canvas of our Blue Ocean Sprint? And to give the answer, I would say no. I think we should do all the 6 phases that we have in the design thinking process and enrich that. That's my theory.
The end goal of what? Of this exercise, of what we're doing, or of
the end goal would be to
of the sprint?
So if I say I have something that I call a Blue Ocean Sprint,
Yeah.
I wanted to have the blue ocean elements in it, but I want to have the full sprint from empathize to implement at the end.
No, then I understand what you mean. So is the end goal of a blue ocean sprint an adapted strategy canvas? That's
And my answer would be no.
that would be your question.
Yeah.
Let me answer carefully. It depends.
I was going to say the same thing.
What for me, I would see the to-be strategy canvas as a first prototype, because you can, for example, use it to present the new strategy internally and test the reactions, etc. For me, the question would be how to formalize the testing part if you want to go in that phase.
I think I understand what you're saying, Marcus. I'm thinking the same thing. The eliminate, reduce, raise, and create grid. It sits somewhere. It sits in the explore phase for sure, and it sits somewhere between ideate and prototype, because you're building your prototype based on the choices that you make with eliminate and reduce and raise and create. So you can even argue that you can build multiple prototypes and then move into the phase of testing them, for instance.
Yeah.
Depending on what elements you choose in that grid. So yeah, I think I hear what you're saying. Like, so the to-be strategy canvas is based on the choices that you make there, and it's going to be the prototype that you're going to go testing afterwards. So I agree.
Yeah, it's kind of a journey, what we call a customer journey, as if. I think it looks like that. Like it's something that you're planning and then you want to apply. But then it depends, because if somebody comes to you and says, okay, I just want to realize that to-be strategy canvas, then that will be your final goal. And the process will be adapted to that, and that will become the implementation. I don't know if I'm being clear, but it depends on the kind of goal that you want to achieve. So if a client comes to you and says, okay, I want a to-be strategy canvas, then that will be the last step, and it can be an implementation. But if I agree with Alex in saying that for me, the to-be strategy canvas is a part of the design process that you will put inside the ideation. And then you will have to develop the product that fits in that blue ocean. I mean, I don't think that you can disconnect the two concepts. The blue ocean is a space for something. And so I will go in the same direction.
Yeah, I agree. I think maybe if you look at the double diamond, so a blue ocean strategy could work with a double diamond, because it misses that last part as well. So with a double diamond, it would work, and then you end over there, and then you basically hand it over. But here you can say, okay, you can ideate multiple to-be strategy canvases, then you decide, and then you can build one or multiple prototypes. I think we're on the same page. I think we're in agreement.
I would distinguish the one thing, as the to-be strategy canvas would for me not be a prototype that I can test, because a prototype that I can test is always something that I can test with potential clients or with clients. And the thing and the canvas itself, I cannot test. I have it, I can use it as a sales material and test it if internally in the company people like the idea and so on. I agree with that, and that might be an in-between step, but really building a prototype would be then a different, towards the market, would be a different step. And my approach, or my idea would be to say, if we make a blue ocean sprint, we test if it really is a blue ocean and if it is the right product in that blue ocean.
Well, what might be interesting here, instead of prototype, is doing a prototype.
I agree.
From multiple to-be strategy canvases, but it depends really. I'm not sure how many to-be strategy canvases you can actually ideate, because I agree that's what you're probably going to end up with. Like what's going to
Sorry, Pam. Sorry.
No,
sorry.
go ahead.
No, you can also test, because in the to-be strategy canvas, what you do is that you eliminate, reduce, raise, and create something, changing the kind of level of the basic features that you found in the first canvas. And so you can do prototyping on these features. Like you can have multiple experiments
Exactly.
built on the, built on the single features that you have, to test them if it's a good idea to reduce them or eliminate them or create them.
Exactly.
Shouldn't there be like, so maybe that's thought already to made in advance, but that like the to-be strategy canvas is changed by us in a way that we say, okay, we can create out of that multiple prototypes that we then test, so that we would say that the to-be strategy canvas, it's at the very end of the ideate and at the beginning of prototyping. We then would create those prototypes, we would test them, would implement them.
Well, I think it can also depend on the team, and on the client and on the product or the service that we're working on. If maybe it's possible that it's very clear that there's one to-be strategy canvas that they really, really like, or that the decider is going to go, they're going crazy about it, then by all means, like, go forward with that one. But it would be really interesting, and a really interesting addition, I think, for clients as well, that you can offer a quick way of prototyping and testing them in a seed stage before you even take them to a prototype. So yeah, I think we're kind of agreeing. Like the beginning of the prototype phase could be a prototype if needed. So there's maybe two options. Either you prototype as an extra phase in there, and maybe you don't, and you just go straight into prototype.
I would put it like that, and that leaves then. So what we had like in GVDS with prototyping and prototyping was that you make a first prototype, then you have an idea in which direction to go, and then you make a design sprint and make a prototype, and with that prototype you prototype again.
Ooh. Come again?
So you make a prototype to clear the direction. Then you say, okay, we found the direction. Now we make something more insightful or something heavier. That's a prototype then. And having that prototype now in our hands and having that qualitative interview test feedback, we improve it. And that what comes out, we prototype. With that, we do a prototype experiment again.
I don't know if that will count as a prototype.
Yeah.
Conceptually, I think it will count as an experiment. It depends. If you are somehow cheating the audience and not saying something about it, it might be like.
So Alberto Savoia says that you can actually, that a prototype is kind of a it's kind of a prototype. You can so you can use it for prototyping.
Well, we're, from my point of view, getting too much into this discussion, prototype. However, I would really like to bring it on a broader level, and Pam already said that, like a marketing brochure, etc. In the end, it's about creating something for testing the ideas.
Yes.
I would really not. I don't know if it makes so much sense going into proto via. However, and I like always this example, saying, well, actually, it's like saying spaghetti or pasta.
Be very careful. There is an Italian in this group. Be very, very careful.
I knew it. That's why. But
I agree with you. I think we should just.
In this case, if I don't remember it wrong, this comes really from Alberto Savoia, this example. So My understanding is a prototype is a very, very special form of a prototype. And if I don't remember it wrong, he made it something like, well, you all call it pasta, but spaghetti or penne or whatever is a special form of pasta.
Well, it can be. I think that the most, the first thing that we should do is like try to put the blue ocean exercise inside the matrix.
Yeah.
That will be another problem, because I think also we have to decide on a topic that we will work on, and then I think it will be clearer what kind of experiments we can do with that. If it's prototype, it will be more defined. So.
But first of all, sorry, go ahead, Marcus.
But I like what Pam said, that the to-be strategy canvas is somewhere on the left part of prototype, perhaps even in the gap between ideate and prototype.
Yeah, deliverable.
That's actually where you become clear. Okay, this is what we want to do. Perhaps we don't have only one solution, but 2 or 3 solutions. And then via testing later, we come to the point that we really decide on the best one.
Yeah.
And I also agree with all of you saying, look, of course, with a to-be strategy canvas, you cannot test too much. Of course, you can use it for checking internally, but for example, for testing this idea with some customers, you need to do something more like a video or marketing brochure or whatever. But it would be for me, it would be the starting point for building more Preto or prototypes based on that.
Mm-hmm. Which is where the book and the Blue Ocean Shift or Blue Ocean Strategy ends. So I think that is what we are clear. We have exercise number A, we have to map out the exercises and match them to the right phases until, and the end point to that is where we have now put in the to-be strategy canvas. And then we have to build ourselves a process from prototype test implementation, how we are going to do that with the blue ocean that we have discovered.
Yeah.
So that's
No, I agree.
Because then number 1 would be, not sure if that is an easy one, would be to actually map those 6 exercises or 5 in those different phases. As I say, that as is strategy canvas is would be empathize. Would that be okay?
I don't know. I work with another framework which is more empathize. To me, it's very related to the way you look at customers. So it's about needs, values. I always have this phase that it's analyze and can be also a very analytic analyze part. And so I will put that in that. Usually it's in my understanding phase, but the sub phase, it's called analyze. So it doesn't feel like empathize, but I don't know.
Yeah.
In this model, I think yes, it will be in the empathize section. I usually don't call it like this when I'm talking about this kind of documents, like, I don't know, a SWOT analysis or
well, this is why
market analysis or something.
I have the same. I usually end up positioning it as pre-work, as outside the actual model, because it's analysis, so it's gathering all the information that's already available. And then before you actually start the sprint, you have a few documents available with data that you've collected. But it's silly because you can call it pre-work, you can call it an analytical phase, you can
So that's something I would come to in a different thing. So when we'll map out the different exercises. The question is then, so the pure design thinking idea is not to analyze too much from third-party market data, but more try to really go for the customer.
Yeah,
Less market
exactly.
research, more
yeah.
less market research because data does not tell you so much. More Yoda, your own data. I think that is a tension that we have to deal with overall.
Yeah, however, with Blue Ocean, it's looking at macro levels of trends, what's happening. So not just customer needs, human needs, but also the bigger spectrum that's happening outside in your market. So that's where you discover or you find these little gems that might be interesting. So I would definitely add something on a macro level, whether it be competition, which is not necessarily macro, but like definitely looking at opportunities and threats, if you will, like that part of the that part of a traditional SWOT analysis. It's but something like an external and internal analysis, both of those you do need it. But I think the strength with design thinking comes from understanding the human customer needs as well and mixing those in, for sure.
I totally agree on that. Especially, I mean, we had it in one of our pre-discussion that I already said, well, for me, Blue Ocean, it does not start with a customer. It starts with a market view. You look at the market boundaries and you look at the players in this market. Because the as-is strategy canvas is really not looking as the customers perceive or value it, but really how which factors you stress, which you ignore, and it's really an internal perspective. So also what Lisa said with empathize, I think it really does not fit because the term brings us in a different direction, which does not really fit here.
I don't know.
What we could do is just as an idea, change some terms and say, well, we start with define and empathize, and then find an end for the understand phase by building our point of view.
I mean, I think Marcus, you and I have discussed it, that the Blue Ocean model is somewhat appealing, but it already has its years. Yeah. So it did not mate some trends that came with design thinking. So when, like, I think it's now a celebration that the book sprint is 10 years something. But that radical shift to the user, no one has seen 2010, even though we had the design sprint and design thinking. So maybe it could be an idea to say, okay, we have some parts that come out of an old world where we have a look at market and market research data. And we start putting them in, I have called this phase now pre-analysis. No, or analysis, which is before empathize, which means that the data that we are gathering in the pre-analysis needs to be then added to some kind of exercise that actually reflects the customer or the potential customer.
Yeah. So I see more things like it. For instance, the next one, the buyer utility map. If I have an honest look at it, if nobody has adapted it, it takes these 6 stages of buyer experience cycle. But the experience cycle of a buyer does not start with purchase. It starts before. It starts when they research, they go online, they talk to friends about it. So and it hasn't been adapted. So even does that make sense?
And that does make sense. I mean, what needs, so my thought was that we could map out today each phase to the exercises, and that we then assign people to each part, and they think that the people think then about how to do the as-is strategy canvas in that environment, because I think there needs to be a lot done. Like a virtual design sprint nowadays, if you do it in GVDS, works very differently from what you read in the book because it has developed over time. It's just different.
Fair enough. Okay, but yeah, let's see.
So
This-
in that case, we would say the buyer utility map, yes, but you have to enhance it because of new things, and then something else is coming out. That's, I would say, that is like exactly the goal that at least I would be looking for.
Yeah, I agree. The buyer utility map for me could be a very good starting point in the empathize phase, and then see what you can build on, if you can build upon it, and what other things you might need to add in that phase. Yeah, I look at all these exercises or these things that you do with Blue Ocean as deliverables at the end of some sort of phase.
Yes.
And what if, I was wondering, what if, since in the ASIS strategy canvas, what you go and look for are, yes, competitors, but the features that are important to clients, to the customers.
Yes.
So what if this ASIS strategy can come in the define phase, in which you have done your research and understood that those are the features that are important for your client and customer, and then you define them and make a comparison to the competitors.
Which would look, so that sounds to me like a value proposition persona.
Yeah, kind of, but it's
Pains,
like
gains, needs.
I was wondering, while I was studying the Blue Ocean strategy, I was wondering, how did they choose those features? And I think that those features should be chosen after some kind of analysis, survey. Okay, maybe they can be data that you are already have in a report or something, but are data coming from your customers. So it's the customer that provides the value. When they write that, I don't know, for hotels, location is important, or cleanliness, it's something that they grasped from the customer observation.
Yes.
So that's why I will maybe start with the buyer utility map, also using some other tools of design thinking, like, I don't know, personas, and then make the strategy, the ASIS strategy canvas. I don't know what you think about. You can think about it, but it's like,
so you would before you would put, as you say, that the as-is strategy canvas is using data from outside, and as well as a macro view is more of definition of the market, and comes in the second phase. And while that is the case, you need, as a design thinker, to empathize before about that. One way could be like the idea of, well, actually, buy a utility map, 3 tiers of non-customers, and 6 paths of 6-path framework. At least buy a utility map and 3 tiers of non-customers look for me like empathize.
Absolutely.
Yeah, not the 6-path. 6-path is a little bit different, but for sure, tires and in the buyer utility map, you're going to put the pain points. So you have to have gone in search of those pain points to put them in the buyer utility map.
But isn't then the buyer utility map perhaps already the defined part?
I was thinking the same thing. Is it not yet? Is it already defined?
Yes, we can. I mean, what if we very quickly align this phase, in our opinion, and make like 4 different lines on how we will put them, with like 4 different colors, and see if we agree, and just to check what we think without. So, okay. Thank you. Wait.
Not the fastest, but.
Okay, I was too fast.
That's okay, no worries.
Okay, just put your name and then we can think about it.
Okay, Alex steals Post-its.
It's my birthday. I'm allowed to.
Yeah, I knew it. That you would do that. That's okay.
Cannot see where the line, we should put some, I'm too far away from the main structure.
And we're also 8 minutes over time, guys.
I saw that. I just was so. Our discussion was so good that I just really forgot time, to be honest. Does we all have like 5 minutes more?
Yeah, for me, no
Few
problem.
minutes is okay. Few minutes is okay. Yeah.
Sorry, I just needed also the horizontal, the vertical ones. It's funny because yes, I have tweaked a little the design thinking metrics, traditional metrics, and so it's interesting to work again on the conventional model with the empathize as the first step.
Okay, so like 2 things to do. One, we go through each of those sections and discuss, and then we have to find a next. See if we have to do any homeworks and when we meet next time.
Yeah. Well,
So-
we just have to discuss one step because there is just one step that we do not agree on. And so maybe we only have to, if we want to discuss it right now, but I strongly suggest that we first find the date for the new
Yes.
meeting.
Yeah.
So that means that I'm going to stop screening right now. We have mapped out the first idea of how we can put the blue ocean sprint in the design thinking grid. There's still lots of work to do. Bye on YouTube. We see you in our next session, which might be likely.
Oh, it's very dark here.
Bye-bye. Bye from the dark pen.
Bye from the dark side. Crossover.
Okay.
The dark side of the moon.
The dark side of the moon. Let me have a look. Yeah, exactly. When would it fit for all of you?
Well, you're still live.
Oh, we're still live.
We're still live.